we've got two Widowmakers. We've got two Widowmakers. We've got blue Widowmaker and red team Widowmaker. They're not actually on different teams. They're just representing two different Widowmakers, right? They're just representing two different Widowmakers. Now, what we're going to be doing is these Widowmakers from this location have the same map control, right? Blue team can see this area. They can't really see this part. They can't really see this part because of the fountain. But blue team Widowmaker can control all of this area, okay? This is basically blue team's map control. Now, red team, if they place their Widowmaker there, will have the exact same map control. But this isn't really like the main thing. Is that, have you ever gone against a Widowmaker who seems to be hacking and just, if you even enter her line of sight for the briefest of moments, just deletes you? Have you ever run into that? Just you get so frustrated on, and you always have to play, you know, next to cover or indoors or behind Ryan shields. It's awful, okay? Now, think about the times where you have blue team Widowmaker who seems to be unable to shoot anything except themselves in the face. Completely ineffective, can't do shit, never shows up on the kill feed. So we've got these two Widowmakers. So yeah, this sounds familiar, right? We have the good Widow and the bad Widow. And the question is, does a good Widow and a bad Widow exert the same map control? Some people are saying yes, some people are saying no. This is interesting. This is interesting. I did not expect it to be this close. There you go. Pull it out. Fight. Fight over chat. Does a good Widow and a bad Widow exert the same map control? Map control is when that girl I was going to go out with convinced me she didn't care where we went to eat, but then gets mad about where I chose. That, but with Overwatch. Oh my god. Now that's a relatable feel. Pope Kill Dragon with the 200 bits says, there's no fear of pushing Bad's Winnow lane, so no. And Wolfbane with the 200 bits says, yes and no, because it creates a sense of danger. But if you can't land the shots, then no. Okay, so what did the poll come out to? So about 2/3 of people think that no, it is not map control, and 1/3 thinks, yes, it is the same amount of map control. If you picked no, if you picked the 66% of people who said that no, it is not the same level of map control, you're absolutely correct. So it may be the same physical area. It may be the same physical area, but the red team Widowmaker might have like a 60% chance of shooting you, whereas the blue team Widowmaker might have a 20% chance. So map control refers to the threat of dying if you enter into an area that is controlled by the opponent. So it's the threat of death, basically. And you can have, you know, for example, if this specific area, if there is a Roadhog right here, if there is a Junkrat right here, and a Widowmaker right here, that means the chance of death for you traveling up through this main choke is probably like 90%. So they have really, really good control over this choke here. But they also have the Roadhog here, which means that they probably have like a 40% chance of death of going here. So if you were playing Ryan Zarya or something like that, you wouldn't want to go main because they have these two people who can exert map control over this area as well as the Roadhog. You'd want to go through Courtyard up here where only the Roadhog can control the map that is the staircase. Or you could send a Hanzo to flank to jump this wall and directly duel the Widowmaker. Right? So this is map control. It's basically not only the area of map that you are able to attack, but it's the risk or the threat of death that the opponent has to put up with in order to be and exist in that area. Well, that's annoying.
Hey Jayne, I'm a Masters main tank player. During scrims I can outplay and win against GM teams on Winston/Rain/Orisa. However, it feels like I'm just a training bot in comp. What do you think is the problem?
Masters main tank player. Well, during scrims, you can win against GM teams because you have a GM team backing you up. However, in comp, you don't have the same set of, like most people are all working towards their own individual goals instead of kind of assisting the team as a whole in accomplishing their goal. So you have less resources applied to you and applied to the same goal in ranked. So one of the first things that's going to help an individual.
One of my teachers would say practice makes permanent.
Yes, that was another part of the saying. So identifying what resources and how many resources you're going to have invested into you during a ranked game is pretty important, and then working around those resources, seeing how you can, help your team. Because if you're playing like hyper aggro Ryan or something, but the
Jayne,
opponent has
on being signed by Dallas. How impactful was Fury in this series, in your opinion?
Fury is a diva in the fact that like he's less noticeable than other people, but he did quite a good job of just filling the cracks and whatnot. So going back to the Ryan question, identify which resources are being put into you and what resources on your team you need to protect. So if the opponent is running double sniper, let's actually use this example again, right? So if blue team Ryan or something is pushing in through here, if blue team Ryan is here and Ryan's shield goes here, right? So Ryan now creates his shield. Ryan's ability to take space from the opponent means that although this area did have a 90% chance of death, if you have a Ryan there, now we have this area where there's maybe like a 10% chance of death. And this is how tanks can help, is that tanks reduce the chance, some tanks, not always, like a Roadhog can't do this, and Hammond can't do this, for example. So this tank, because he's removing the Junkrat and the Widowmaker from the equation, it's making this space safer for his team to operate on. And then if you put your own blue Widowmaker, for example, in this area, who is now safe to be here, this Widowmaker can also exert territory over the opponent's map. Now, it's not like an area of map is either in red team's control or in blue team's control. There can be a piece of map, for example, there can be a piece of map where, let's say there's this corner here. We've got this like L-shaped piece of map, and this kind of like area in here. If there is a bastion here and a bastion here, and both of them are looking at this box, both teams have map control over this area. So both teams, you could theoretically have an area of the map where there is a 100% chance of dying for both teams if you enter into that area. That is possible. So map control isn't binary. Map control, both teams can have varying levels of map control over the same area. So don't think about it as this is in red team's control or this is in blue team's control. We are exerting this much of a presence on this area, and they are exerting a lesser presence. So, can you explain how dive tanks create space? That is a fantastic question, actually. Thank you for asking. What a fantastic question. How do dive tanks create space? How do dive tanks create space? Okay, so there's a Ryan here, and he's got his shield. Okay, and the Widowmaker is shooting at this Reinhardt, trying to get the squishy targets behind, and this Reinhardt has made this area safe. Right? So this area is safe. Look at how much map the Ryan has made safe for his team. This is fantastic work. Now, if we take a blue team Winston instead, and then Winston... Oh, I scrolled out. And the blue team Winston sits on Widowmaker's face, then suddenly this entire area has become safe because the Widowmaker has basically been removed. Suddenly everything is safe because the Widowmaker is now otherwise occupied. The Winston is sitting on the Widowmaker. The Widowmaker has basically been removed from combat. So, it's kind of like main tanks or guys like this will create an area of safe space where a DPS can now exert their presence onto the opponent's map control. So these are like contested areas. But a dive tank, at the very simplest of an explanation, can draw the attention of an opposing DPS off of the area that they are controlling and onto the tank themselves, and now the threat is only onto the tank and not onto the map. Can Tracer create space? Yes. Yes. So the other thing about map control, goodness, this is going to be a full map control lecture, isn't it? The other thing about map control just in general is that map control also requires attention. So what is a good area for this? So Junkertown. The twin buildings on Junkertown. The twin buildings on Junkertown. Now, this area of the map, if you are a coach or if you're scrimming, this area on the map is by far the most fascinating exercise in map control in the entire game. By far. This map is an absolute pleasure for me to watch, play, spectate, coach. This building is just, this area of the map is so utterly fantastic. So normally, how the team or this map is functioning, I want to erase this, is that we're going to be having an Orisa, we're going to have a Diva, we're going to have a Mercy, and then we're going to have, I want to put a Hanzo down. Where's Hanzo? Hanzo, Roadhog, and Widowmaker. Okay. So, this is kind of like a standard composition that we've seen a lot during the playoffs and whatnot. But, so there's this area of the map here. So this is called Stables. Then there's this area of the map that's called Coast. And the thing is that you need scouting, sightlines, and information on these flanks. Because if, for example, a Widowmaker is here, then this Widowmaker can exert map control over this entire area. Whereas if we have a Hanzo here, the Hanzo similarly can exert map control over this entire area. And then unless the opponent is actually able to, for example, perfectly match the pressure or the map control that's being exerted by either one of these flanks, you know, if they exert too many resources into the left flank, then Hanzo is uncontested and gets free shots, and he eventually will find something. Or if they try and contest both, then the main tank core has the ability to actually, move up basically uncontested. And one of the ways that the Los Angeles Gladiators did this was really fascinating. Let me actually find the clip of how the Gladiators pulled this off. Overwatch League. Schedule. Blizzarina makes Gladiators, because I'll just tell you like the normal way of playing this area. So one of the normal ways of playing of playing Junkertown is normally it's going to be your Roadhog, because your Hanzo works better with damage boost for the Mercy. So your Roadhog is kind of roaming. He can be on the right side to kind of apply a little bit of a pressure just to kind of like see, because if he does get contested, like if the opponent's entire backline is here or something, he can be an asshole. He can hook from here, but this Roadhog can be like roaming around between the tank core or the stable side or anything like that. Or you can have, if you're going for halt hook combos, you can have the Roadhog playing with the core, and then the Hanzo can either be with the core or the Hanzo can be looking for one-shots on the back line through stables. But the problem with Hanzo is if he pushes up to here, he can get pushed because his mobility doesn't allow him to take cover as easily, and he can get halted and shit like that. So it's more dangerous but more effective for Hanzo to exist on stables. So normally you have these two kind of being interchangeable, but it usually operates with the Hanzo being around this area, and then Roadhog roaming between stables and core. But then the Widowmaker almost always goes coast. because the defending Orisa is usually going to be holding at this point. And this creates kind of like two battle lines. So this creates two battle lines. This creates the battle line for blue team, the battle line for blue team, which is here, right? So red team can't really cross here, red team can't push up here, and red team can't push up here. Now, Stables is a little bit more contested, so I guess if we were to kind of talk about the real battle lines, it'd be more like, and then this part is questionable, like who controls this Stables is depending on how the teams are acting. But then red team's battle lines are more like this. Red team battle line kind of has like this 90-degree here. So when we were talking about there's two areas of the map that have kind of equal control, right? So blue team and red team both can exert a pressure on this area, which makes this basically no man's land. So that's kind of like how the battle lines are drawn there, and then things just go off like that. But this is how things normally start. But look how the Gladiators did Junkertown attack.
But they've got the Roadhog here, but
so Widowmaker normally goes coast. That's really all you need to remember.
So
I hope this is the right Junkertown.
Really early on for Junkertown in the Overwatch League. I know the pirate ship protect the Bastion here on the cart. You set up here. See how it works now, because it started to phase itself out where you didn't see it as often, and I think it almost is going to be even harder now when you have this new Hanzo.
I hope the map I'm thinking of didn't happen in the semis.
Interesting. We actually saw the Gladiators play the Junkrat on defense for maybe.
So there's that kind of like contested Stables area, right? It's hard for either team to really truly hold. And then where is Surefour here? Ah,
that is less shield.
Do you see where Surefour is? I did pick the right map. This is the right map. So watch this again. Watch this again. This is cool. This is really cool.
See how it works now, because it started to phase itself out where you didn't see it as often, and I think it almost is going to be even harder now when you have this new Hanzo in who can put down so much damage in a quick succession.
Interesting. We actually saw
so contesting the Stables, no team can really truly hold that area because it's risky for both.
Now remember, a charged Widowmaker shot does as much damage as a Junkrat.
And then we have the roaming Roadhog escort Surefour. You see where he grappled? He grappled up behind the main choke.
Heroes. Tendo to stop though.
You do have Hanzo.
There he is. There's Surefour right there. Look at this. I think this is fascinating. If you don't think this is fascinating, I don't know what to tell you. So instead of trying to exert map control over coast, they move Surefour instead of this way. They move him here, escorted through Roadhog. He grapples up here, moves to here, and now Surefour is exerting map control not from a 90-degree flank, but 180 degrees behind the opponent. How is this exciting? This is fantastic stuff. This is what I live for. This is good stuff. Surefour's right back there. And now they have two huge threats. You know, you can see the Halt trying to go and uproot Surefour from the position that he's located in. And Fury is like...
Fury couldn't keep his team alive there, and
the opponents just have nowhere that they can exist.
Not really worrying about wasting the bullets, probably using about as many as the Australians did in the Great Emu War, and it's going to be enough.
Just the act of play... So this is how threat can actually be more impactful than actually landing kills. And that the threat of Surefour being back here... did Surefour actually get any kills? Or did he just draw so much attention and so many resources to him that the Bastion basically went uncontested?
It started to phase itself out where you didn't see it as often, and I think it almost is going to be even harder now when you have this new Hanzo in who can put down so much damage in a quick succession.
Interesting. We actually
Contest
saw
the Stables,
on defense for
move back to payload. Hydration is going to escort Surefour to allow him to get through that dangerous area uncontested up into the window. And Surefour being allowed into that window caused London Spitfire to absolutely fucking crumple.
You do have Hanzo. As putting damage down the shield also.
Oh, the defense matrix ran out! Fury couldn't keep his team alive there, and Gesture just got completely obliterated. Chaz not really worrying about wasting the bullets, probably using about as many as the Australians did in the Great Emu War, and it's going to be enough. Birdring is down.
I love this clip. This clip is so cool. There's a couple other really unique things that happened here, but yeah, it's just a very interesting exercise in looking at map control. and attention and resource usage and just a fuck ton of other things. So I'm surprised that nobody like posted about this flank on Reddit or anything, because I thought this was like the coolest thing that happened in this entire series was Surefour getting escorted into the high ground behind the area. So normally when shit happens like this, one of the analysts will pick it up and post about it on Reddit or YouTube because it makes them look smart. But nobody did that for this. So I'm not sure if just nobody noticed it or nobody cared enough, but I thought this was just so cool. Yeah, no limbs for Surefour. But, yeah. So, there's your little tangent on, map control. I hope you enjoyed it.